Okay, so here's the puzzle in order to find out what exactly is going on. There's also a save point here. There's nothing in here that can kill you, but I'm going to go ahead and just save for the sake of convenience. And I already know the answer. They mentioned that it's possible to rotate the faces on the totem. And there's a story hidden throughout this house, and the key to solving it is actually in the basement, because you'll find out this is broken on the fish symbol. The story ends in death, with the fish part, and you have to assemble it from top floor going down in sequence of events. So the last creature before the fish was the eagle. Okay, this is the basement. The shop is closed, and as far as I know, there is no way to open that door. Now, this is a bit of an interesting room. So right here we have this doll, and if you're wondering, this doll actually does move around the place. I guess it's supposed to unsettle you, perhaps, but it has yet to kill me, so I assume all in all it's neutral. So these, I believe, are supposed to be movie references. I don't know what exactly to. Right here you can see a picture of the grandmother. And right here is the note. So this is actually the second part of the story. Once he left his territory, he ended up face to face with a mischievous-looking lynx. The wolf prepared himself for a fight, staying firm on his hind paws. But the cat didn't want any trouble. He asked the wolf what he was looking for outside of his territory, far from his family. I want to go to the end of the world so I can distinguish myself from others with my great knowledge. The lynx thought for a while, his eyes lost in the clouds that were carpeting the skies, of looking for an answer. Finally, he told the wolf, "Your destiny can be found to the north. Go and learn about the limits of your existence." And I'm taking that for no other reason. Now, it's been a while since I've seen The Fifth Element, but I believe these stones are supposed to be a reference to that movie. Bruce Willis is in it. Some people like it, some don't. Don't really recognize the necklaces. The doll is still there for the time being. I need to see more movies to actually identify these things for you guys. So, I don't know the significance of the bow. And it's the owner's mom. And we're done with this room. I might come back in if I remember to show you that the doll is not there later. But we need to go up to the second floor. So, the second part of the story is when he met the lynx. And we can check out these rooms. Ah, here's the fun one. Does the owner fancy his aunt? Pick up the ID. I don't know what the IDs are used for, but I picked them up anyway. So this is the first part of the story, The Wolf and Destiny. A young wolf, member of a pack which ruled the forest, one day decided that he wanted to discover what lies beyond the tree's boundaries. He might not have been very worldly, but he was sure his thirst for knowledge would lead him to wisdom and recognition. He would be the first wolf in his pack to travel the world. Native American fables. Funny choice for a man his age. And basically we have what we need from this room. Check it out, Bloodbath. And seriously, other than the bath, I don't know if there's any significance to this room. Okay, that's going to take us up. We'll come back. Okay, this is an important room we'll be coming back to later. John Goodensnake. Weird name, but that's supposed to be the owner of the camp. Books, more books. You need to know the existence of that if you're going to come back to solve the puzzle. Who still uses a typewriter these days? Resident Evil reference, I believe? You'll notice the doll with a knife. The owner's journal, I might find some answers in there. November 1974. My father advised me to keep a journal to preserve the memory of his heritage. don't know if he was talking about the tourist campsite to which he dedicated his life, or about me, his one and only son. When I was a boy, he would often tell me of the wolf, who due to his rampant curiosity tragically met his end far from home. And right there, they kind of spoiled the ending of the story for you. According to him, this underlines the importance of family bonds. He was always telling me, without your tribe, you wouldn't be here. Today he is dead, and so is my mother. My grandfather also left us a few years back. Now I live alone in this manor, without my tribe, so does that mean I don't exist anymore? March 1975. I feel alone in this house. It's much too big for me, despite the work I've done to make it more in keeping with my solitary existence. I keep welcoming the guests and their demands, though my motivation is waning. I'm meeting with my aunt this afternoon. She wants to speak to me about our family's traditions, of the bond that unites us with all-powerful nature. Foreshadowing. Wow, what was that? I'll admit I'm a bit torn. On the one hand, I'm happy to be able to meet with my own kind, but on the other, I remember my eccentric aunt as someone who makes others feel ill at ease, who never married and always refused to leave her house and join us at the manor. She was as terrifying as she was fascinating in terms of her distinction and self-assurance. Whatever the case may be, taking a break from the monotony of daily routine for a few hours will do me the world of good. May 1975. I'm seeing more and more of my aunt these days. Her company is doing me good. She is still a bit odd, but much funnier and more respectable than I remember. I have learned a lot from her about the origins of our tribe, about our beliefs, and the importance of my role in the preservation of our lands. Tomorrow she's planning on initiating me in great spirit communion rituals. I was excited as a kid the night before Christmas. So, right there is your clue on what's happening. And here's the actual end of the story, what I probably should have picked up before the journal. The wolf carried on, heading north for several days, and gradually as he traveled, the earth turned to snow, and the snow turned to ice. The wolf was delighted, as he was convinced that no other wolf had ever set foot here before, so close to the end of the world. Finally, the path came to an end, and he discovered water as far as the eye could see. The wolf, fascinated by the seemingly infinite river, walked to the water's edge to take a drink. He immediately spat it back out, as it was so salty it made him feel sick. However, this bad experience did not stop him from admiring the spectacular scene before him. The wolf submerged his two travel-weary front paws into the ocean to cool down. At this moment, he noticed a black and white face with sharp fangs, which quickly closed on him and carried him off to another world, the spirit world. From that day on, wolves tell the story to their curious pups so they don't stray too far from the pack. And that's the end of the wolf. It's pointing at the stars now, but does the owner also use it to spy on us? Dun dun dun. If you're wondering, down there is the entrance to the shop, which is locked from that side also, so we're not getting in. And have I... yes. The owner must be a great tea lover, looking at his impressive collection. And there's the not-used sink over here. So you kind of have to wonder where the owner is, or if we're in some other world. Here's the owner's grandfather. There's the doll. Such a big table for one man. Sometimes living in luxury can be sad. And the father. A Native American man wearing what kind of looks like a cowboy hat. And those are the stairs back down. So the telescope is kind of important, just story-wise, not puzzle-wise. It's basically part of the cover story for why people die here. So here we are on the 3rd floor. And there's the door. And there's the doll brandishing the knife. Like I said, I haven't gotten that thing to kill me yet. I don't know if it's possible, but... well, maybe we'll find out. Who could be living in the owner's attic? And the Believe poster may be giving you X-Files vibes. We'll see. Secret files on weird unsolved cases, but they've got nothing to do with the camp. And I'm gonna go ahead and get the journal now, or picture. This must be the guy who lives here with a young girl, maybe his daughter or his sister. Looks like case notes from an investigation. Maybe I should take a look. Long Night Camp has been the scene over the years of numerous unexplained deaths. This is January 1997, by the way. Human losses as of today account for around a dozen individuals. Each time it is an adolescent who dies under mysterious circumstances. Previous investigators have all concluded that a heart attack was responsible, and one of them, aware and worried about the number of victims, had brought in scientific experts to determine whether or not there might have been something in the air or the water that could be affecting these teenagers. The expert report ruled out any environmental variables as causes of death. The investigation is closed and nobody has been able to explain the strange deaths of these innocent teenagers. May 1997, I've consulted the archives of the medical examiner and have checked each of his reports regarding the missing children. In conclusion to each of these cases, I've always found the same verdict. Cause of death, heart attack. I have, of course, requested access to these children's medical files, and none of them have had any known heart conditions. I questioned a cardiologist about it, who, when I showed him the different cases in question, could not believe it. He assured me that with no history of heart problems, there was no reason why these young people would suffer a fatal heart attack. When I told him that all these incidents had occurred in the same place, the Long Night Camp, he assured me that the common denominator in all these cases was unlikely to be their physiological health. I am now convinced that somebody or something has played a role in the deaths of these teenagers. My own suspicions lie with the camp owner and the Native American community in general. I cannot explain it, but I have the feeling that they know more than I do about what has been happening at the Long Night Camp. June 1997. I went to the camp owner to interrogate him. He was very cooperative and even invited me to stay with him to help with my investigation. I discussed the various mysterious deaths with him, and he seemed to be very upset at having to revisit visibly painful memories. He has, moreover, mentioned Samantha. Apparently he remembers me and my distress following her disappearance. Furthermore, I was amazed to learn how concerned he was by the life of his clients. For each of the victims' families, he had specific memories of their habits, their relationships. With this information, I was able to strengthen the belief that each of these children had come from a different family environment and had equally individual social behaviors. I can see myself increasingly feeling the need to think outside of the rigid rules of science and rationality to try to understand what happened, and what may happen here again. As soon as I got the chance, I searched through Mr. Goodsnake's house, the camp owner, but I didn't find anything suspicious. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree with my theory about the Native American community. Perhaps the truth lies elsewhere. November 1997. Last night Mr. Goodsnake got a little bit tipsy and started telling me things that confirm my theory about unexplained phenomena. According to him, his people have met with aliens. The telescope pointed at the stars. A very long time ago, it is believed something came down from the sky and landed near an Indian camp, and living beings from another world supposedly came to meet Mr. Goodsnake's ancestors. When I expressed doubts about his story, the camp owner went to get a piece of stone that seemed to be very old. On its smooth surface, primitive characters had been carved. The drawing was crude, but we could clearly make out two humans with their arms raised to the sky. They were opposite a being with an enormous oval head and very long arms. Behind the alien, a flying saucer completed the scene. Whilst I couldn't believe my eyes, Mr. Goodsnake told me that was one of his tribe's treasures, and that was as old as the first men. I made a reproduction of this engraving, which you can find attached to this report. I'm sure I'm on the right track, and onto something that could revolutionize the way we see our planet and the universe around us. At the time of writing, the stars are now shining brightly. I think I'll go and scout around in the camp. Maybe with a bit of luck I'll bear witness to an encounter of the third kind. December 1997. It's been more than a week since I started looking for even the slightest hint confirming the presence of aliens on the Long Night camping site. Up until now, I haven't found anything conclusive, but nevertheless, my gut feeling is that I'm getting closer to the answer. My superior doesn't approve of my obstinacy and wants me to return to Washington, but that's out of the question. I would rather lose my badge than give up when I'm so close. I carried on discussing it with Mr. Goodsnake, who encourages me to get to the bottom of it. He spoke to me about my sister, of her disappearance, and the sadness he felt for this innocent child. I was touched by the compassion shown by this old Native American, whose beliefs, it turns out, lie closer to my own than those of the scientific and rational world. Recently, he spoke to me about the theory each human being possesses two souls, one that is attached to the body and the other to the mind. The former is believed to be mortal, whereas the latter, well, that's a mystery. I'm not a big fan of religious theories regarding life and death. The idea that human beings are machines that suddenly stop working, and that nothing of them remains but the memories held by those nearest to us, I don't see how that can be possible. August 6th. I saw her. I can't believe what I'm thinking and writing, but I definitely saw her. After months of wandering around aimlessly in this Native American territory, I finally found her. She was there, not far from the abandoned chalet where the kids from camp usually hang out. I remember she used to go there when she was still a part of our world. Now she has passed into the world of the spirits, and her soul is trapped in this camp. When I told Good and Snake her soul, he confirmed my idea that it must be the soul attached to her spirit that couldn't escape this earth. According to him, sometimes a soul can stay behind like this and wait for a loved one so that they can pass to the other side. He told me that happened to his grandmother. Her soul refused to leave and join the Great Spirit until her husband joined her. When death came to take Good and Snake's grandfather's body, he saw his wife, who was waiting by his bed to leave with him. I told Good and Snake that I was going to speak to my sister. Of course he tried to stop me, claiming that it was dangerous for me, that the living should keep their distance from this sort of thing, but he underestimated my determination. Tonight I'm going back to that abandoned chalet and find Samantha. So, hopefully this is clearing up who exactly is living up in the attic, and hopefully the telescope thing is actually making a little bit of sense, since now you know that it's not necessarily being used by Good and Snake to spy on the campers as much as this FBI agent who's completely paranoid. I need to believe. Personally, I'm not a big fan of these faked photos, even though I would like to believe, like Dewey, that the Megalodon is still amongst us. You mean Megalodon isn't amongst us? Say it isn't so. Right there's the sketch of the stone that was mentioned in the journal. The FBI agent totally bought into the alien thing. And here we have one last thing to check out before we move out of this room, and I guess it's not quite a reservation experience without one of these. So yeah, busty native beauties, a bit of light reading to combat the loneliness, if you say so. So right here we have to deal with how the story began, and that was with the wolf. And something just unlocked in the basement, and it's time to actually go down there and find out what. So right now I have to find my way back. It's a little hard to navigate that room since it's so dark and there aren't really any landmarks, but right here I'm trying to look for the doll. Camp accounts, nothing of interest. And right here, the camp's visitor register, obviously not up to date, my family isn't in it. This, I believe, is the list of Kickstarter backers. If you didn't know, this game was on Kickstarter. It obviously was funded, and I think this is where all the backer names are coming into play. Having traveled north for over a month in search of the end of the world, the wolf broke down, disheartened by not finding anything. While he was searching deep within himself to get a second wind, he felt powerful wings flapping. An eagle landed alongside him and asked, "What are you doing so far from home, wolf?" The wolf got up so he could answer the bird as nobly as possible. "I'm looking for the end of the world so I can distinguish myself from others with my great knowledge." The eagle took off and flew very high into the sky before replying to the wolf, "You're almost there. Carry on north, and there you'll find the end of your world." So hopefully you see how this whole thing is playing out, but that's the third part of the story, and that's why you put the eagle on the ground floor totem. So with that, we are now in the basement. Right here I'm just looking around to try to see if there may be something to pick up, maybe some notes. I don't really remember what all is down here in this room. But if you come all the way down here, you will see the doll brandishing the knife behind its back. Sublime. And here's the broken totem, which tells you that this is the last part of the story where the fish kills the wolf. And this is the secret area that opened up. Who would want to sleep in a cellar next to a bottomless pit? Looks like the same hole as in the D4 chalet. Could there be some connection? Indeed there is, as you'll find out in a little bit. Pick up the note? Yes. And here's where you find out the connection between the two. Or not yet, the Ancient Ones, page 125. So this is a reference to one of the books in the library. I pointed out to you earlier. We now have to go find that book to get the key that's inside of it to unlock that door back there. The door is locked, that's why I'm not even bothering with it. My goal is just get the key so that I don't have to keep you guys waiting too much. This whole thing is going to take about a half hour to watch. And I know a lot of people just seemingly skip over this place because it's an optional area. There isn't really any gameplay reward for it. Basically, your whole incentive for exploring it in the first place is if you want to know more of the backstory and what exactly is going on here. So after a little bit of searching, here we are at the bookshelf. We'll take the Great Ancestors. Can I push the wrong button? So we interact with this, we open it, and check out that cover. Awesome, isn't it? So you go ahead and push A to open the book once you're done admiring the cover. Pretty sure that is a Cthulhu reference, but I'm not totally sure. We have to see if maybe there is some other significance to it. Maybe actually story related in some of the later chapters. But I like to think it's Cthulhu. So we now have a key to the door in the basement. We can now open that up and blow the mystery wide open for you guys. Basically, if you don't go in this room, you won't actually get any sort of confirmation for what's going on. You'll just have to always suspect it at the back of your mind and wonder, am I correct? Am I correct? You can see the icon has changed since we have the key to get back here. I'm starting to think the owner is a big pervert. If you can't see it too well on there, it's a pair of binoculars on the table. Definitely not looking well for him. And there are three things to examine here, the first of which we're going to look at is the bulletin board. Photos of teenagers. I've never seen them around camp. Perhaps they've been through the same nightmare I have. Indeed they have. The one of interest is in the bottom right corner, Samantha Petrie. If you didn't know, that's the sister of the FBI agent. The girl that you saw in the picture on the attic. As for the others, I don't know if those are Kickstarter backers or what. And lo and behold, here we have the next four victims. The owner has photos of us. He must have been playing this night for a while, the twisted lunatic. And you can actually see their last names and everything if that interests you. And here's where we find out everything. The Watchman's Journal has been found. June 1st, 1976. I decided to start a new journal, following on from the first one my father gave me, so I could compile all the information about my new life as a watchman. I think I finally understood the moral of the Wolf and Destiny fable. You should always remember where you come from if you want to understand yourself and blossom. Today I am happy to be able to help my aunt with her mission. Our role is to subject certain teenagers to an ancestral rite, the Long Night. More precisely, while my aunt channels nature's energy using pits, I have to select the candidates. Then I speak to the chosen youths and tell them the legend of Wakanda, the invocation that you have to chant to complete the ritual. From that moment on, they become masters of their own destiny and will have to face their deepest fears in order to overcome them and reach maturity. In this nightmare world of the Long Night, they will have to save themselves. The only thing I can do is put in place magical protections, offering them areas of solace and doubt. Then we have to wait for the following morning to see if they will manage to escape from the fantasy world, alive and above all changed. As my aunt puts it, we are sort of like mediators between nature and human beings, with the aim of cleansing the soul of the doubts and fears that prevent them from achieving their full potential. So this is giving you a little bit of a hint of what's going on. August 2nd, 1976. For the first time in my life, I got the feeling I was important when I went to see those teenagers to tell them the legend of Wakanda. After weeks of watching them, I reported back to my aunt, and she confirmed that I was ready to take things to the next level. Now I'm just going to have to sit back and be patient until they initiate the ritual. September 3rd. Well, this is it. I've experienced my first long night. Unfortunately, something went wrong, and a young girl died, and they have the wrong thing there for when. Her name was Samantha Petrie. She was 18 years old and seemed to be in a good state of mind. Obviously, she wasn't strong enough to confront her inner truths. I could still see the look on her older brother's face as his eyes met mine, desperate, trying to find someone to blame for her sister's disappearance. Poor kid, I know how it feels losing a family member. Losing a family member is terrible, but as my aunt says, that's the way of life. Some people just aren't strong enough to make it. July 4th. Since Samantha's death, I have become more careful in my choice of teenagers. I spend a bit more time observing and taking notes so I can have a better understanding of them. I listen to them enjoying themselves, messing around, and making their plans in my dreams. Thanks to the natural pit that can be found in the chalet they like to hang out in. The other night I even ended up sleeping next to my own pit in the basement. I let myself be lulled to sleep by their ambitions with the pleasant feeling of being their confidant. So apparently the beholder monster inside our chalet is actually spying on us for Mr. Goodensnake. So all in all, he doesn't really need those binoculars, he has other ways of keeping tabs. July 5th, another teenager died yesterday, but what an idiot! I was sure he was up to the task, but no! This time I worked really hard to choose carefully and guide them. I checked the protection seals several times over. I'm so disappointed he was my favorite. I'll try to pay even closer attention next time, but I can't do their growing up for them. So I don't actually know who that one is. June 6th, I haven't written in this journal. Oh yeah, it's 1997 now. For what seems like forever, almost 20 years. Without realizing I've become very invested in my work as a watchman, even guide for these clueless kids, and I think there may be another mistake in that part. Despite my best efforts to help them through the rite of passage, many of them have died. The weakest ones, as expected, don't last very long, but ambition... But... I can't read that. But sometimes my favorites also fail. The track record is worrying. Even though nobody's been able to get to the bottom of these mysterious deaths, it's starting to result in some bad press. What's more, today, an FBI agent showed up at my office. He's Samantha Petrie's brother, Rob. Apparently he's leading a supernatural phenomenon special investigations unit, and he's established a connection between the different deaths of the children. I feel a certain attachment to this boy. After all, his sister was my very first failure. I'm going to let him stay with me for a few days so I can take the opportunity to draw his investigation away from my tribe. So right here you can see that the FBI agent played entirely into Goodensnake's plans. December 7th. I feel sorry for the FBI agent. His search for the truth makes him come up with the craziest theories. All you have to do is give him a slight push in one direction and he heads off all guns blazing. Recently I've been telling him about the presence of aliens in this region. Since then he has become overexcited. He spends all night looking for some hypothetical UFO. I think he's been fired by his boss since he's exchanged his usual suit for a classic jeans and t-shirt combination. Poor Agent Petrie. Unfortunately, those herbs I put in your tea every night and the lies I'm telling you won't help bring you back down to earth. I don't like watching you slowly lose your mind, but I won't let you threaten my land, my family, and my heritage. So if you remember, part of the story is the FBI agent wouldn't go back to Washington. August, the agent has disappeared. Before leaving last night, he told me he's found the answer. He knows where his sister is. I haven't seen him since, even though he usually never misses a meal. Typical government worker. I don't have time to worry about him, though. The group of teenagers that regularly squats in the adjoining chalet that they have named D4 seem to be ready for the ritual. I told the Legend of Wakanda to David, the outsider of the group. He shouldn't have any trouble convincing his friends to carry out the ritual given his desire to become the group's leader. I think that ever since I first became a watchman, these are my favorite candidates. The fears they are harboring promise that this will be a very long night indeed. I wonder who will die this time. So, David bought into it hook, line, and sinker and doomed everyone. Way to go, Dave. That psycho had it all planned out. Because of him, I'm stuck in this nightmare with that mad woman. I can't believe he's gotten away with this for years. But that's pretty much all you come in here for, just to get that journal and actually understand what's going on. There may be some sort of advantage to coming in here for later chapters, but I don't know. Anyway, this is going to wrap up the Sidequest video, and we can go back to the main storyline if you pause the other video. So right here I'm going to go ahead and do one last save, but otherwise we are done here. I'm the Hero of Light, thanks for watching, and goodbye.